Hello, I'm Kirsty. I'm a theatre maker and facilitator, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some simple tips and techniques to understand text or a piece of writing better. If you're anything like me, a piece of text can be a scary and intimidating thing, whether that is a script that you've been sent on the first day of rehearsals or a book that you want to turn into a play. It's really easy to think, well, where do I start with all of that? There's no right or wrong way at all, but these are some tips I've learned that have been useful to me to help me understand text better, to understand what's the most important things to me about a text, and to get creativity flowing at the start of a project. These tips are used by actors and directors. They can be done from home, they can be done in a group in rehearsals. Today I'm going to be using extracts from The Wind in the Willows, the original book, just to help me explain the techniques to you. But please know these steps can work on a script, on a book, on any piece of text. They're really flexible, so it is totally up to you. Today I'm going to explain what I'm going to do before each extract, so if you want to join in as we go through the video, you can grab a piece of paper and a pen or your phone to take notes as we go, and feel free to pause the video at any time to give yourself a bit more time for each activity. The first technique is called stating the facts, and yes, it is as simple as it sounds. You are going to make a list of the facts of everything that you know about the extract of text. I encourage you to be as obvious as you possibly can. I'll show you what I mean by reading the first paragraph of The Wind in the Willows and then telling you afterwards the facts that I've found. Chapter 1. The Riverbank. The mole had been working very hard all the morning, spring cleaning his little home, first with brooms, then dusters, then on ladders and steps and chairs, with a brush and a pail of white paint, till he had dust in his throat and eyes and splashes of white paint all over his black fur, an aching back and weary arms. So, the facts that I found in that extract of text, I will read for you now. I have been really obvious and I have used the words of the text in my list. We're at the riverbank. Our first character is the mole. He's been working hard. It's the morning. Mole has been spring cleaning. The mole has a house. He owns brooms, dusters, ladders, steps, chairs, pail and white paint. His house is dusty. He has black fur, a sore back and weary arms. A really simple list of everything that I know. Once you have your list of facts, you can move on to the second technique, which is questions. Again, not a radical technique. You're just asking yourself the question, what information am I missing here? So look at your list of facts and think, what would help me complete this picture? What would give me more information about what is happening in this extract? From looking at my list of facts about Mole, I'm thinking, does he live alone in this house? He's spring cleaning. Is it definitely springtime? How old is Mole if his back is hurting doing this work? All of that would give me a much fuller sense of what is happening. Some of these questions will be answered later on in the text, some of them might not be, and if those questions aren't answered, I'd encourage you to look at all of the facts that you have and then make an educated guess from there. And it's a really great way to start thinking about character backstory, about backstory to the context of the book in general, is to ask yourself those questions and answer them if you can't find them. So techniques 3 and 4 come as a package deal as well, and they are focused in on one character. The character that I've chosen is Toad of Toad Hall, and I'm going to ask myself firstly, what do other characters say about Toad? So I'm looking for a list of anything that any other character says about Toad. I'll read you the extract now and feel free to join along at home if you would like to. Get the boat out and we'll paddle up there at once. It's never the wrong time to call on Toad. Early or late, he is always the same fellow. Always good-tempered, always glad to see you, always sorry when you go. He must be a very nice animal, observed the mole, as he got into the boat and took the sculls, while the rat settled himself comfortably in the stern. He is indeed the best of animals, replied Rat. So simple, so good-natured, and so affectionate. Perhaps he's not very clever. We can't all be geniuses. And it may be that he is both boastful and conceited. But he has got some great qualities, has Toady. Great. So my list of different things that other characters have said about Toad. He's always happy to have visitors anytime. He's always the same fellow. He's always glad to see you. He's always sorry to see you go. He's the best of animals. He must be a nice animal. He's simple, good-natured, affectionate, not very clever, good-tempered, boastful, conceited, but has great qualities. And as you go through listing everything in the whole text that anyone ever says about that character, you'll start to build a picture of how other people see them as a character. The next question that you are going to ask yourself is, what does Toad say about himself? So I will read you another extract and you're going to write down, what does Toad say about himself? Hooray, he cried, jumping up on seeing them. This is splendid. He shook the paws of both of them warmly, never waiting for an introduction to the mole. How kind of you, said Toad. He went on, dancing around them. I was just going to send a boat down the river for you, Ratty, with strict orders that you were to be fetched up here at once, whatever you were doing. I want you badly, both of you. Now what will you take? Come inside and have something. You don't know how lucky it is you turning up just now. Let's sit quiet a bit, Toady, said the rat, throwing himself into an easy chair, while the mole took another by the side of him and made some civil remark about Toad's delightful residence. Finest house on the whole river, cried Toad boisterously, or anywhere else for that matter, he couldn't help but add. Here the rat nudged the mole. Unfortunately the Toad saw him do it and turned very red. There was a moment's painful silence. Then Toad burst out laughing. All right, Ratty, he said, it's only my way, you know. And it's not a very bad house, is it? So the things I have got that Toad said about himself in that extract. He so badly wants to see friends. He has the finest house on the whole river, or anywhere for that matter. And the boasting is only my way. And as you create both of these lists next to each other, so the list of what other characters say about a character and what that character says about themselves, you'll start to build a picture of how people see them and also how they see themselves. And that can be really interesting depending on the character, how different those interpretations can be. So those were the 4 techniques that I wanted to share with you today. Those techniques might seem simple, and they are, but I promise you that the more lists that you have made, the more you will understand the characters, the story, the places and the settings in the text. And more importantly, the more ideas will flow as you combine all of those things together. I've used these techniques in a load of different ways before, including listing facts about different spaces and settings in a script to help think about design. I've done the character list for every single character in a play to help think about how those characters relate to each other and how the dynamics between them all work. I've adapted the character questions and listed everything about that men have said about women in the play, and also everything women have said about themselves to help think about gender politics of a play. There are so many ways that you can adapt these questions, or feel free to keep them very simple just to help you understand the text on a bit of a deeper level. I hope that these techniques help you when you next look at a piece of text. I'll leave you with one other handy tip that I like to use after I've done all of those exercises for the whole text. I often do what's called a stream of consciousness, or some people call it free writing. And you'll probably have heard of it before. It's where you write the first thing that comes into your head and keep going for 3 minutes or more without stopping. You could do this in character to answer a question that you have about them or to help understand them a bit better. For example, with Toad of Toad Hall, you could ask yourself, how did I feel when I met Mole for the first time? And you would write and write and write, and you would start to see your perception of the character of Toad, and it will help you understand who they are a bit better. You can also use free writing just as yourself, and it will really help point out to you what you've taken from the text, what you understand to be important, and what you might need to look into a bit deeper. I find it a really, really helpful tool. Well, thanks so much for watching. I hope that this was useful to you, and I wish you all the very best with the next text that you work on.